Hi, this is Stephen E. Andrews, Outlaw Bookseller, back yet again with yet another Stranglers video and yet another unboxing. And it's 2 days after JJ's 70th birthday. I'd like to have done this before, but I didn't get around to it for various reasons. And so I'd just like to say happy birthday, John. Everybody in the band, of course, calls him John, and he likes you to call him John if you sit and have a drink with him, which I'm very privileged to have done once about 20 years ago. What a wonderful man he is. Not just a wonderful bass player, songwriter, singer, you know, multi-talented guy, but a very wonderful human being, very warm and interesting and funny. And, you know, he's a multifaceted character, painted just one way by the media years ago. And, you know, great man. So 70 years old, who'd have thought it? You know, it's easy to think it's the twilight of the idols. Dave has gone, sadly, and that's, you know, the big impact on all of us. And Dave was my absolute idol. He was a lovely man in person as well. You know, Hugh left a very long time ago. Jet has retired, sadly. You know, has had some ill health, but you know, old age doesn't come on its own, of course. So I hope Jet, I hope you're well up there, Jet, and everything. I hope Hugh's well as well, because it's been a few years since I've seen him either walking around the streets in the West Country where I live or in concert. It has been a while. And Baz has been obviously a great support to JJ, and he's a great guy as well. He lived near Bath at one point, was playing regular gigs in a pub I used to go to, and we used to talk a lot, and we met before that. I actually met Baz in at Tucker's Grave Inn with JJ and Dave before I actually saw Baz play with the band, and you know, that was a great night. The biggest hangover of my life the next day, but boy was it great. Anyway, to move on, I thought I'd celebrate JJ's birthday by doing an unboxing, as they say on YouTube, because it's an unwrapping. And I do have something. I've got a Stranglers album here, which I've had in shrink for years. It's the only one of my records which is still in a shrink, and I've kept it that way because it's a duplicate. I'm not sure why I acquired it, really. Probably just because it was there and it was a reasonable price, and maybe I thought this day will come. So just grabbing here, this is my original A&M US copy of Black and White. Of course, the day it came out, I was queuing outside Rainbow Records in Pontypridd before they opened to buy the UA one. I've got a couple of other copies in a flight case there, and this is the A&M one, as I say. There you go. And the lettering is a different sort of typeface on the back, as the fan base will know. And this is the sticker from the original shrink wrap. And in the intro to the video, you'll have seen this spinning on a cruddy little turntable. I've played this many times, which is why I allow it to play on a cruddy little turntable. Just have a quick look at it, because I think I was playing the black side, which funny enough is white on here, and there's the white side. And it was lovely because you didn't get many records like this in the 70s. You got coloured vinyl now and again, but you didn't get much splatter, so that was a real beauty. And it was the whole grey becomes black and white thing. So that's that. So it's seen some action over the years. It's got a bit faded and what have you. So at some point I came across, and I think you could get them, you know, they were still the odd one or two out there, and I think this probably about 10 years ago, I got this other copy, and there's a, in there, what have we got? We've got, you know, another copy of the old white EP. This is one of the sort of mushroom variants, which one theory is that they turn this colour with age. My original white one hasn't. I bought that one on eBay, I think. Or, you know, so these were actual mispressings. They don't turn that colour. That was a mispressing. And there's different variants out there. Some of them are almost blue, some are almost pink. And again, you could pick them up, but obviously I got that tucked in with there because my singles box is so full. We just stick that to one side. So what we've got here in a PVC outer is a still sealed copy of that 78 A&M Black and White. So let's just get this out of here now. Because it's in shrink, it has stuck. There you go, we got that out of it. Let's have a look. So there we are. So pristine, still sealed. You can see the grain on that old-fashioned shrink wrap on there. Look at that. The shrink wrap on Ratus, of course, was different again. It was really hard and crackly because I had a sealed original Ratus, which I bought about 15 years ago. It had gone to Japan, had sat over there, nobody bought it, and it was absolutely mint, and I've never played that. And that was a joy to them because it had the sticker and everything. It's 100% authentic. So there we go. So we're going to, in honor of JJ's birthday, we're going to unbox this now. So, and we'll have a talk about Black and White. And I thought I'd talk about really what JJ's contributions to honour him. I mean, the whole band was so cooking by this phase, and I regard this as the beginning of what I call the scientific era, where their concerns in the songwriting move out of London and their initial travels to places like Amsterdam, and they get a truly global perspective going on. There's lots of science fiction content on this as well, where they're looking at the future with things like, you know, Hey, you know, but the Versatron robot that killed a worker in a, I think, Toyota factory, I think, in Japan at the time, outside Tokyo, which reminds me of the sort of grinding down of entropy that you get in new wave science fiction books of J.G. Ballard and what have you. And I've talked about this in my video about the Stranglers and science fiction in this phase, so I won't talk about it anymore, but just have a look at it. Luckily, there's two little holes in the shrink wrap, which are just handy for me to slide this little scissor in if I can. In fact, I'm going to go for the corner because the corner's slightly raised. There you go. Right, so here we are, an actual unwrapping of a record which is 44 years old. It's just hard to believe, isn't it? Rattus came out 45 years ago in April this year, and I've got a big Rattus feature coming, which I hope you'll tune in for, as they used to say. Let's do another little slice there. So here we are, off it comes. The shrink comes off, nice and glossy underneath. I knew I'd do this one day. I can't leave a record in a shrink forever. It's just, and this, say, was the only one in my collection that stayed in a shrink. I normally unshrink them straight away and get them into a polylined inner. So let's have a look. So obviously there were loads of these out there. It didn't sell particularly around the States, because of course there was the famous telegram when A&M wanted to combine the first two albums and, you know, into one compilation, and the band didn't take very well to that, and they sent the famous telegram to A&M offices, dear A&M, get love the Stranglers, and it went up on their office wall apparently. And of course A&M were also the home of the Tubes, who the Stranglers liked their music, and they became fast chums. The Tubes were one of my favourite bands back then. When the Tubes were on A&M, they were really fantastic, and they went off the boil a bit later on. So yeah, there's the sticker. So we've got that, and that's peeled off. The sticker residue has just died away. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? Limited edition. I'm not sure how many there was. I think there were quite a few, but obviously in the UK there were loads more. There were, by that I mean with the white single, I think it was 70 or 75,000 copies of the white EP, and then of course they went and released Walk On By as a 7-inch EP, you know, got to number 22, but you know, that's the perversity. That was the thing, they did what they liked those days, and they didn't care, and it was successful, and that was the essence of punk rock to me. Not punk the formula, punk rock the real thing. They did what they liked, and a great sleeve, and that really got us thinking, didn't it? So, and we'll slip that into PVC, so that's rather pristine. And you know, the band always got us thinking, you know, they got us reacting to the visceral anger of their music, to the sort of railing against the injustice of the world, and you know, being an outsider, which, you know, lots of us really related to. And there was the sort of the feelings of sort of lust and the unbridled emotions that we felt when we were young, before we became older and wiser. And you know, it's just great stuff. So let's have a look at it. Now, of course, the inner sleeve of the original UK edition is shiny and has beveled edges. They're sort of they're rounded, beveled, I say is the term I use. Now and again, I think it's different typeface. I'm not entirely sure about that. There's some different details, like I'm sure there's a rat on the UK one, and this is paper, so we're just going to slide that out, and there it is. And this one is, on the side I'm looking now, is less mottled and less marbled than the one I have, possibly more so on the other side, so that just goes to show. So that's pristine and unplayed, and that will probably stay that way because I've played the other many times, as I say, and as you saw. So that's that. And of course, perversely, it says white side with a black label, black side with the white label. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I would have been 14 when this came out. I was 14 and a half. So, and what I remember, I'm just going to slip this into a polylined inner, is that, you know, I thought, well, we play the black side first because that seemed logical. I forgot I was dealing with the Stranglers, of course, those anti-structuralists, as Phil Knight says in his wonderful book. Strangled, and if you haven't read it, you really should. Never mind biographies. I mean, we all know the stories, you know, the biographies are there. Robert Endicott's biography, which was popular, I wasn't so keen on myself, but good on Robert for doing it, because it was about time somebody did a new one. But Strangled by Phil Knight is the book on the Stranglers, I'm afraid, published by Zero Books. It's superb. And yeah, so so I used to play the black side first rather than the white side. So for me, Curfew's always been the opening track. Now, it should have been obvious that it was the other way round, that the white side should be played first, opening with Tank, and the album would then end on the black side with enough time. As time runs out, entropy sets in, the heat death of the universe. Is it the second or third law of thermodynamics? I can never remember which one, and everything grinds to a halt. And of course, we you know, we didn't you know, we didn't know these things when we were kids, and you know, we know them now. So looking at it and just focusing on, you know, on John's contribution, I think originally, one idea was to have one side with music by John and lyrics by Hugh, and the other side the other way round. And of course, it opens with Tank, what an opener, and the ending, the way that everything pulls together. And having seen the band do it so many times in concert, it's a very exciting song. Obviously, there's David's really fast sort of keyboards, because he really upped it on the speed on this one. And this was the point where, as Hugh said, he really put you know, Rick Wakeman in the shade there. So, you know, that's great. And then we have Nice and Sleazy, and you know, already I'm starting to talk about things beyond JJ, but I'm going with it. We may as well. Nice and Sleazy, of course, is about the episode where the guys were in Amsterdam and they got befriended by those Hells Angels, and they went to their clubhouse, and it was all a bit hairy and leery. And you know, it's great though, because it's got those biblical references. You know, and when you look at the lyrics, you can see it. They came across the West Sea, and of course the North Sea is west of Britain, and you know, towards the Netherlands. We didn't have much to do with the kind of climate waiting. That's a reference to how they'd be received, you know, because they had rough times in other parts of Europe, like with the Ragier in Sweden, of course. And you know, the second verse is just so poetic, and yet it's the poetry of punk rock. It's the poetry of the street. An angel came from outside, a Hells Angel, had no halo, had no father, with a coat of many colours. And of course that refers to the cut, the jacket, the so usual denim jacket, the colours, as the Hells Angels said, that they wore over their leather jacket, that would be covered in patches and what have you. 1%, you know, the 1%ers who didn't count and didn't care, all those different things. And there'd be initiations, like in some Angels things, they would, you know, they'd urinate over them and they wouldn't be allowed to wash their cut, the jacket and what have you. And had no halo, had no father. There's something sort of like the Antichrist about that, you know, an angel who's a fallen angel. He spoke of brothers many, and of course Hells Angels are fraternity. And JJ was very drawn to sort of those male bonding things, as he said many times, and he was a biker and what have you. Spoke of brothers many, wine and women, song aplenty. He began to write a chapter in his story, in history, a chapter in history. And of course you have a chapter of Hells Angels. You know, you have the club, which is often many chapters. There's different chapters in different towns. So I'm sure it works. And you know, and it's really interesting. The Angels, they have their own sort of social structure, which JJ referred to in Bitching. You know, I'll tell you when we meet in Amsterdam, you see how things should be, really can. You know, and it's great. You know, it's wonderful they managed to get that biblical feel into it. And of course, there's Dave's accidental Moog solo, which is like, you know, the how can I put it? Anybody who's ever tried to play an analog synth, you know, as I did for many years, will be just jealous of that solo. It's just like absolutely magnificent. You know, putting the patch chords into the wrong places, that's the way to do it. So there you go. So so that was interesting. So it was Who really, but you covered a lot of JJ's interest. Outside Tokyo's Who again, and you know, as you see all the way through, in fact, you know, looking at the black side, of course, it's all Who all the way through. Hey, Rise of the Robots, Sweden, and then Toddler on the Sea. These are mostly Who, these are all Who songs, and that's what come out. And Toddler on the Sea, just for those of you who have been waiting, I know it's turning into a running joke. I've managed to get a new copy of Toilers of the Sea, which I'm rereading at the moment, Victor Hugo's novel, on which the song Toiler on the Sea is based, because I haven't read it for so long. My old copy had gone, so I'm rereading it. It's a big tome, as you see. When I get through it, I'll be doing my my Toiler video, so I will come back to that and we look at the detail. Oh, Ratty's gone off the screen. We can't have that. Come back, Ratty. There he is. No More Heroes. Also 45th anniversary coming up for that one as well. Hard to believe. They squeezed these 3 records in less than a year. Fantastic. So, moving on to the black side, which is the side where JJ sort of holds sway more, and there's the black side of the sleeve. Curfew, which for me, as I say, was the opening track. And, you know, it's amazing how things come around again. The enemy has cut down all the power. London south of the Thames is invaded. It's a Cold War scenario about the Eastern Bloc moving forward, the Iron Curtain pushing forward, and the men from the steppe delivering their vacuum. And those are dangerous times. And of course, here we are now. Today, you know, the Ukraine is under threat from the USSR, you know, and the nukes are still there, man. Let's hope that, you know, hope the world will last. You know, that's the thing. So it's come through again, and there's some political comment, there's a direct political comment, and JJ says, Germany failed to protect all of her borders. She had grown soft with the American dream. And of course, he's referring to the sort of commercialization and Americanization of West Germany there, and how East Germany was purer and what have you. It was under the heel of oligarchical collectivism, totalitarianism. They call it communism. As Orwell said, I think it was oligarchical collectivism. So, you know, it's a dark, dystopian, near-future SF track, but it has relevance to then, it has relevance to now. Prophetic stuff, John, thanks for that. And, you know, wonderful music, as we know. Threatened, what can you say? The air sucking out of that snare drum as Jet is on it, and the tone of voice JJ singing is just like demented. It suggests a strange child man who hasn't quite grown up. It's maybe somebody with sort of developmental issues. It's really quite sort of threatening, and delivers his philosophy of how things can't be pretty or ugly as long as they don't threaten you. And, you know, bring me a piece of my mummy, the Oedipal thing is in there. And, you know, it's dark stuff, and this wonderful bass playing. And I think, you know, obviously JJ's bass playing was always amazing. I think it possibly peaked on this record, you know, on the beginning of things like Do You Wanna, and the way it thunders on Death and Night and Blood, Yukio. But, you know, it was just another chapter. It was different. When, you know, I first heard this, I wasn't sure, because it seemed a lot more, less personal and more sort of like making a statement, which I wasn't sure that the Stranglers should have been doing, but I soon adapted really quickly. In the Shadows was put in as a filler, but it works perfectly here. Do You Wanna with Dave. And again, back to JJ. Looking at this is quite interesting, because you forget, you know, JJ sings 3 songs on here out of, let's tot it up, I think it's 10, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 12. It's a lot of tracks for Stranglers album. It's 12 tracks, and yet it never feels like overly crammed. You know, it feels more stately than that, because they're usually quite long and what have you. So there you go. But Death and Night and Blood, Yukio, I cover that extensively in another video just about Yukio Mishima and the Stranglers and that particular song. And, you know, it's very much that the one side did work out as Hugh's lyrics and songs, and of course JJ wrote a lot of the music for Toller on the Sea, you know, and he was rehearsing that, wasn't he, at Bearshank Lodge, and I think with one of the Finchley boys, I seem to recall, was playing the drums for him while he was getting that together, and he wrote that wonderful opening guitar solo on it. But yeah, he only actually sings 3 songs in this. That gives me pause. So 3 from him, 1 from Dave. That's 8 from Hughes, so yeah, that's quite a lot, isn't it? But it's all, you know, absolutely deathless stuff, isn't it? So that's Black and White. I could talk about it more at length. I've talked about different aspects of it already in other videos. I'll talk about some more specific things at other times. I've covered it quite a lot in the science fiction videos. There's a lot of SF content in this. But, you know, it is an amazing moment. And let's look back at what, you know, the music that JJ has produced. He's done some wonderful solo stuff. I could have talked about that today, but I wanted to unbox this. I wanted to be more prepared. This is more off the cuff. And because I love the solo material, and I think it deserves a video all of its own, and I'm sure Parfait for me is actually my favourite Stranglers rated record after Feline. It's not that I don't like the stuff, I do, I love it, but Parfait has a huge meaning for me, and it's Greenfield and Burnel and absolutely fantastic stuff. So that's an unboxing of a pristine, unplayed American UA copy of Black and White. I hope you've enjoyed that. Happy birthday, JJ. And you know, I hope everybody's been enjoying the tour. I don't go to gigs anymore myself for various reasons, and you know, people are saying they're hoping it won't be the last tour. I've been very impressed with what I've seen of Toby's playing live. It's been really, really good, and you know, he's obviously been working at that a long time, because you know, natural talent like Dave's is you're gonna have to practice really hard to get there. And what more can I say, that 70 years of, you know, a wonderful human being. Thanks JJ for bringing us the music. Thanks for always being very warm in person, and may you have a long, healthy, happy life. And if you decide to retire now, you know, some of us won't forgive you. I will, but let's have another solo album sometime, please. This is Outlaw Bookseller signing out for now. Bye.